Cause the market been, I don't know. We damn near about to give up all the gains that we've had so far. We looking at the ES, and then if we scroll on over here to NQ, it ain't too far away. It's got about 75% room left before it takes out lows. But this is kind of needed. It was kind of needed. Even gold's not recovering and it's retesting lows too at 4 grand. So honestly, this June is kind of a tricky month. You know, we all here selling may go away. That's kind of what is looking like, and is pretty much sticking. So um, if we check out ES right here we are, damn near hugging previous month's lows. You feel me? So damn, here we are right here. We probably got just a little bit more room until we actually take those lows out and fully shift into a, well, not fully shift, but we'll be going into a bearish July pretty much. Um, because all the sentiment to be shifting more so to the downside since the Bulls wasn't able to protect the 7,200 zone. So we have to be very, very careful as we watch um, how this market digests to end the week. On top of, we actually have a short week next week because the market will be closed next Friday, right? So here we are right here. It was to be expected to be bearish. How bearish, how fast, we don't know, but it was expected, and we still dropping. But previous week closed red, and as you can see, this is what I'm talking about when we start breaking lows. If we look at it from a weekly, this gives us a prime example of what happens when price action breaks the lows. And once it does that, we pretty much start selling off from there. So you see, once we broke, we started trickling down, and here we are now bouncing around on the previous support and previous month's lows. So very, very tricky. The market really needs to recover from this level if we're going to maintain some type of uptrend going into the rest of the month. Like I said, if we end up breaking below this 7,200 zone, then we can go ahead and wrap it up. It's going to be probably a bearish end to June and then a bearish start to July. All right. So you see how I just marked out those two levels on the monthly time frame. And right here is where we got the little price action where we had support or resistance and support right here. So here we are going to retest this zone over here currently. Very, very important level, you feel me? So we're gonna have to see how this reacts. Like I said, the market needs to pick it up. If not, then you'll see us completely shift into that downtrend. I've been real picky on anything that I've traded over the past couple of days. I traded gold early, probably right off our open, quick 20% that we made on that. I tried to re-enter on the lows and it kept breaking down. So let's look at gold real quick since that's one that's fresh on my mind. So ugly chart, right? The gold and silver euphoria has come to an end. You feel me? So here we are right now, 3-month time frame, and we just took our previous quarter's lows on gold. So if we were to want to start like a long position on gold, like this is how you would do it. And the only reason why I say that, because you're truly, truly getting gold on discounts now. It's a huge candle. You feel me? But we typically get, 1 to 2 cool off quarters until gold start ripping again. So here we are right now, really getting opportunities to see gold actually give us some discounts going into this third quarter. All right. So the same way we go when we mark out, the highs and the lows when we're building a chart. Here's the lows right here. Here's the opening price, closing price, and then those were quarterly highs. All right. Zooming in into the monthly. All right. You see that we consolidated pretty much the entire time, but this whole quarter we've pretty much been on a downtrend, slowly trickling, breaking lows, red, red, red. We get it. So now that we're actually breaking below lows, like I said, this is where everything typically gets pretty tricky. All right. So the most that we've been seeing as far as actual healthy structure will probably be this area that we're seeing right now. From the highs to the lows. That's what majority of the structure is right now for gold futures. All right. And the reason why I'm watching the futures is just because it's just easier to track it instead of looking at GLD. But right now is where we see most of the price action. Can this not be so bold? Let me turn maybe I'm moving the wrong one. No, it's the other one. All right, cool. All right, so this is where we're seeing majority of the price action right now as far as structure heading into gold right now. Now, me honestly, I think that it's an okay opportunity. I would still want to wait to see how we start off next month just to get some better structure since right now we're just in a straight downtrend. But like I said, we haven't seen a nice red quarter on gold or silver since, it just kind of went parabolic at the beginning of the month. So that's pretty much how we're looking right now. We're seeing just a slow descending chop to the downside. And we just want to see how it reacts around here. Like I said, this box right here, this is kind of our zone that we would want to watch for and see if it's able to bounce back after taking out their previous quarter's lows. Like I said, if you just hopping in, here's gold on a 3-month time frame. Very important to notice is that we're breaking structure, the previous quarter's lows, and now we're looking to see how we're going to recover. Now, we should see some recovery going into the end of the month. I mean, the daily candle is a little green. Strong little wick right here. So we'll just want to see if it can build some support back up above this like $4,100 level overnight, and then see if it carries into tomorrow. But as of right now, how it's been trading, I wouldn't be surprised if it dips down some more and retests the bottom of the structure. So, like I said, I'm not really trying to time it, but this is a very, very important level that we're looking at on gold. All right. So let's look at, well, first, I've been watching the VIX. And here we are, on the VIX spike, filling the gap up here that we left. When was this? The beginning of April. And we're pushing back up into here now. So pretty much the VIX is just making everything so stagnant, making the volatility just terrible. The spreads are terrible. You know, it's up right now. You know, we was having fun getting in and out of the market. You know, that's because we were down here. But now that we're back up here, you know, we're seeing a lot of chop throughout the day. A couple of stocks are going to retest some previous highs, and then by the end of the day, the whole market is red. So we're probably going to see a lot of that while we're still trending to the upside to retest this $25, $26 level on the VIX. But yeah, that is super high right now. So like I said, I probably wouldn't expect calls maybe until after the ETF rebalancing. And that comes toward the end of the month. I think it was the 23rd, but both SPY, Qs, I'm pretty sure possibly IWM too, they all are going to start rebalancing their holdings, seeing what's coming in, seeing what's going out, S&P inclusions, all of that good stuff. So this is what I'm continuing to watch along with the rest of the market, but the VIX is still pumping. So if you're having issues with just getting in and out of trades, check the spreads on them. They're probably going to be $15, $20 apart. That's going to make it real hard for you to get in and out of certain stocks, especially if it's just not a lot of volume coming to it. But like I said, a lot of the stocks that we've been watching over the past couple of days, Mag 7, some crypto stocks, like I really been heavy on MSTR and Coinbase, but they're all breaking down with the rest of the stock. It's slower, but it's still breaking down eventually just because I think it had a head start. But I'm still liking some crypto stocks just because they're not going to go, it's not going to go to zero. But if we watch this monthly, we're already retesting a level of support that we've seen over, when was this? May of last year or April 24. So this was the last time we really seen this level right here that we're looking at and that we're actually playing around in right now. So this is why MSTR is probably one of the ones that I'm just kind of paying attention to. I want to see how it reacts back into the zone and see if we can get another recovery once Bitcoin starts his move. But we have to see how long Bitcoin is going to consolidate though. That's the question. Like, we all can point out the levels and everything like that. But, I mean, for the most part, all we can do is just set up in positions and then wait for the right confluences to show itself. But I still like Coinbase. I still like MSTR. I still think MSTR can actually move once Bitcoin has another major move. If Saylor does what he say that he's doing and he's accumulating Bitcoin, I mean, this should actually, print once it does actually move. So my thing was, I'm thinking that maybe we can see some price action or something on this to the upside. I'm thinking mid to late July. I want to see when this Bitcoin run actually happens because we didn't see much of it going into the new year with the rest of the market. The S&P 500, the Qs, they all went nicely. Bitcoin didn't have too much of a decent run along with it. And I think that, eventually money should be shifting back into crypto at some point. All right. So just breaking it down, we've had another red 6 months, but it's not as bad as the previous 6 months. Okay. So I'm hoping that we get one of these moves to either where I'm always counting candles on longer time frame just to see what's the average decline, where we should expect something. So normally it's between 2 to 3 red 6 months, half of the year candles. And the reason why I'm looking at the 6 months rather than the 3 month is just because of how long the Bitcoin cycles can actually last before we see a move. If you was a part of the MSTR run to where it's just going crazy, then you know a lot of people probably got stuck, you know, at higher prices and are averaging down or just completely cut for a loss or just holding. But I like to look at the longer time frames when it comes to crypto, just because the cycles can take a little bit longer, as we've seen this year, to actually run versus the stock market. So, like I said, we've had a massively red previous 6 months, and now we're kind of holding some support here. I wouldn't be mad if we seen probably another consolidated, I wouldn't say 6 months, but at least maintain some price action inside of here. Cause then we can start seeing some actual accumulation and possible, you know, skyrocket back to the upside. So keep your eyes on MSTR. Um, it's just it has so much potential. I was late to being an actual crypto believer, but after seeing, you know, it cycle in and out, I look at it more so as a long-term investment rather than something I would trade like stocks, actual stocks. So MSTY is another one that I was kind of looking at. It's Yield Max. And if the way that MSTR and crypto's down right now, you know, at one point in time, Misty was paying, I think, $1 and something dividend every week or once a month. But now that it's so low, I'm trying to see, and don't do it yet. But I'm thinking that some of these stocks is beat up. Yield Max was fairly early. The NAV erosion was just terrible on a lot of those stocks. So if you got in and you tried to run that whole that drip back into it, you never really seen much of your money because it was pumping them out so fast and everybody was getting in when it was still new that nobody really knew exactly how much it was going to sell off or how much NAV erosion it was going to have. But looking at these, seeing that it consolidates, if you was to pour some money into it, in theory, I think that it can kind of work its way out as a place to hide money, since these stocks like MSTR are already super low. Don't quote me, not financial advice. I'm just thinking out loud. You feel me? But watch MSTR, Coinbase also, big level. You see a lot of price action around these zones right here for Coinbase. So when you look at it, you kind of see the same thing that we're seeing on MSTR. You're seeing a lot of consolidation at what appears to be a temporary floor level. So we're just gonna have to see how this holds up. I still think that June is a very, very important month. Like I said, it's a new month, but it's also the last month of a quarter. So it's just a lot of stuff going on in the month of June that we just have to kind of be aware of. Even if we dip down lower, you see how, you know, it kind of formed a little bowl right there. Um, I don't know if it's dipping too much lower. I don't think so. I just think that once crypto actually decides that it wants to do something, then we could see a nice move on Coinbase and MSTR going into the summer. The money's gonna have to flow somewhere, and it hasn't been in here. So once the stock market just is just overpriced, then I think that's probably when we're gonna start seeing some money flowing to Bitcoin. You feel me? So nothing spectacular as far as TA wise. Look like a broadening pattern. Continue to retest some lows before we bounce back up. You know, this is how investors get put to sleep. Don't really think about it. Here's some support. Like this top right here lines up perfectly with the last consolidation before the pop. So here we are back revisiting this area right here. Um, we have a little bit of support like right here. Just because we saw it bump its head a few times before giving up, and then we broke it. Next time we retested this level, we actually broke the fuck out and retested it and took out. So here we are again, looking at some support, seeing how this is gonna hold up. Delusion, what's up? I think you've been cooking in the chat, huh? Beer number 30. Oh shit, boy. Oh, beer 30. Okay. But yeah, man, you just chimed in and I was just going over Bitcoin and its cycles. Seeing how we're looking to play out since money hasn't really flowed there throughout the year. We could have a crypto, like a hot boy summer for crypto, you feel me? Bitcoin might be ready to come outside by mid July, August, something like that. So let's just see how this plays out. Like I said, big level of support. Last time we saw this, it got out of there pretty good once it broke out. So we're just gonna have to see how this zone plays out, see if it continues to kind of put everybody to sleep sideways before something comes out and just gives it the motivation it needs to get itself back up to the upside. All right. So yeah, I think the crypto market is pretty interesting right now. Look how flat that is over the past couple of days. So something's up. Somebody's getting in at some decent prices. Um, sheesh, it almost looks slanted. Sometimes it's, when you start drawing on it, make it look uglier than what it is, right? But yeah, let's continue to watch crypto. See how this consolidated area holds up. See if we can form some support over here. If we can, like I said, mid July, we could see something start actually shifting and make some moves. So uh, let's see what's on the watch list. I've been watching Google, Amazon, Apple took off today. And that kind of pissed me off today. I ain't gonna lie. We was looking at Apple all yesterday, trying to get a nice 295 300 call, and today it decided it wanted to pop back out before shortly coming back down. So let's see. And see, this is what I'm talking about. The same way we just looked at SPY, what ES and NQ. Actually, let me go back and check. All right, so it's still trying to recover. Okay. So if we go back to Apple, going to the 3 month, it's possible, but something catalyst normally moves it. So you see how close we actually came to breaking down and breaking the previous quarterly lows. But something stepped in and it moved the price all the way higher, extending it because it did open green. And once it took out the previous quarter's highs, it continued to keep going just because new money was stepping in. I think that we'll probably see a stock split soon. Don't quote me. But I know over the past few years I've been trading, the closer it gets to 300 and above, the more inclined Apple is to do a stock split. And that'll continue to drive the prices up as well because Apple likes to what? They like to maintain their appeal to retail traders. You know, they could be $1,000 stock possibly trading, but they always do stock splits to keep the prices at $100 or below. You know, to to keep that liquidity in there. So, um, Apple still look good. Looks like we'll be even if it pulls back. It opened around 254, 255. So even if prices drop a bit more on Apple, as long as it doesn't fall below 254, 255, we'll be going into July with bulls in control. All right. So I don't think we're going this high anymore. So if we mark this out, the highs and the lows, we can actually kind of have a little projection of what we could be watching going into the rest of the month. So here's the highs, here's the lows. You see, it was a nice consolidation area here between that 246 and 278. So we saw a lot of price action between here. Big green candle. We haven't taken out the previous month lows, which are right here at 275. So right now, what the bulls are still in control. It's just selling off with the remainder of the market. So honestly, like I said, I think I'm gonna like Apple going into next year just because it has a ton of support right here. It has support all the way down to 275 and then more support here at 246. We might be heading to, well, depending on how it goes, we might be heading into a bearish July. So we could see some more sideways action. But if it gets itself back together, we get back up here to 317 by the end of the month, then we good and we continue pushing higher and higher. You feel me? But I definitely want to say I like Apple as of right now just because we have a nice sideways support. You know, even if we dip, we got another support zone here and we can actually allow this to play out and ride itself back up to the upside. So um it's just performing a whole lot stronger than majority of the other stocks right now. My bias on the market 1 to 2 weeks out, we continue sideways on a bigger scale, but we continue to dip, if that makes sense. So looking at ES, let's take that out. Let me add some structure to it. Let's look at that. All right. So check this out. Here we are, ES. We're actually recovering. Structure. I'm gonna do this one. All right. So it's actually trying to recover right now. And here's our transitional level between the 72.15 and 71.29. If we go back and look at it, this was our last chop zone before we finally broke out to the upside. So right now we're just lulling to the downside, looking to break the lows. But I wouldn't be surprised if where we opened up at June. All right, so we were up here. If we can break out and come back, at least retest this 73.87, that's where I see us at least coming back into. Salvaging some of the losses before the month actually closes. This one is like a GEX flip. Because if we break down below here, then we'll have a major shift back down here. But like I said, as of right now, from a day-to-day standpoint, going into the closing of the week, in this area right here, since it is a lot of support that we'll be jumping into, I wouldn't be surprised if Bulls step back in and we push the price back up. Because honestly, like I said, if we're looking at the month over month, who's been in control? Month over month, the Bulls been in control. So we haven't quite broken the lows yet. So you got to continue to have a bullish stance until we do. I posted in the chat this morning, like I'm gonna keep messing with calls because I can't switch my buys just because every day is giving us the same thing. But looking at it from a longer standpoint, we're still bullish until we take out the previous lows and invalidate this trend. Right. You don't see a reason to change buys because we had this little sell off. Correct. So that's how I'm looking at it right now. Once we break the lows, something like Meta, break the lows, then you can switch. You play, it breaks here, you play the rejection up, and then you follow it back down. So until I see that, I'm going to be slow to take puts. You might catch me 1 or 2 days where I just be like, hey, I'm finna ride and just do whatever the market gives us. But for the most part, I'm going to be looking for a sell-off with a relief bounce and possibly Bulls taking back over somewhere just to retest halfway, just to salvage some of the losses. Market's way too volatile. With the trending up and then breaking down midday to later on. Like, Google is one of my watch lists, my main watches, and it's been getting completely folded. You feel me? So, like, this is the area, this golden area is what I just showed you on ES, where we're kind of heading into. It's kind of a transitional zone. But Google is already met it, and it's starting to trade back down to fill this little gap right here. Now, the reason why I like it long term is because everybody loves Google. I say it again, it's one of those stocks that you can make a lot of money on with very little money. Is weak right now, but it's strong long term. And you can see how much of the profit was given up, once Google actually hit that 400 level. And that was one of my just overbought zones. It sold off from there, left a little doji, retested, and it sold off from there. So it's coming back down to where we see some structure. And I don't think that anybody should be going long on anything right now with the way the market's moving. I think everything should actually, if you're gonna find any positions, probably wait until July to start building. But even if we close with this 3-month candle, we're going into the next 3 months pretty strong because they were in control. The offering, I'm not even sure how much it was. How much do you think it would drop since they are doing the offering on Google? Yeah, like I said, I'm not sure how much it was. I haven't really looked into it. When did they announce it? He said, let me ask Claude. Hey, Claude will tell you whatever you want to know, bro. But yeah, looking at this, I mean, Google's had a strong 3 months. We got 19 days until it closes. So, I would expect maybe an inside candle to these highs and lows to see how it actually plays out. It was to draw it, try to give us kind of a little forecast into the next quarter, and a 3 month time frame is super important. Super. I can't stress it enough how much you should use TA quarter to quarter, so that way the bigger picture of things. But just marking out 3 month, we got the highs, we got the lows. We know that we can come at least down to 289. We got structure here around 338. So I mean, it's cool down right now. It's it's straight. I think it needs to cool down. Look how the structure sets up on a weekly time frame when we zoom out. So um, I would like to see how it sets up in here though. It's kind of the same thing that we're seeing on Apple, where it's ran up, it's closing out on a good 3 months. Um, yeah, we might be having a little sell off, but it'd be nice if we can consolidate in between this 289 and 338 if we do happen to continue to see weakness. If not, and we go into next month bearish, then we'll just have to adjust from there and see how we gonna work it out. But overall, I don't think that um, they're just gonna eat too far into the price action to where we just close this red within the next 19 days. So I'm gonna continue to keep Google on there. Right now, I think the price action is just deep in the green or purple. All right. So yeah, the purple going down is just like it is going up. If it's green down here, that means this is where you're looking for some type of support. Purple will be um, oversold levels, kind of like what we're seeing on gold right now. But purple will be oversold, and it makes sense with this gap being right here. Look like it happened after earnings. So investors are trying to step back in, load up some profits, taking some off the top, using it to load back up towards the bottom of the gap field. We do have some more down here. I don't know when that shit gonna fill, but it's possible. And it's falling in between where we got that structure at between 338 and 289. So we still got gap fills within there. But like I said, we just gotta take it, month by month at least. But keep Google on there, Apple, MSTR so far, and I don't even want to look at AMD. That shit's so high. Nvidia, everybody's. I want to say everybody like just kryptonite right now. I think a ton of people just wanted to see Nvidia go to 250. I know I wanted to see it go to 230, but it's too perfect. It's too perfect. Silver Surfer, how you doing? Can I look at IBM? I sure can. You said if Nvidia loses 200, I mean it's had a good quarter. I give it that. It's had a good quarter. As far as 6 months, that's just finna close flat on a 6 month chart. That shit finna close flat. So let's see how everything else is holding up. Let's see, open around 175, 176. Highs are up here at 237. Let's mark it out. Bro, if Nvidia loses all these prices over the next 19 days, tuh, yeah, it's gonna be crazy. All right, so Here's what we looking at. Here's the opening price right here. 175.98. Once we took out their previous quarters highs, that shit was on into the races. So I'm gonna draw this out. Let's do it here. I'm just marking out some levels real quick. Show you guys something. All right, so I just marked out. I kind of forecasted with this 3 month candle. You really don't want to do this unless it's a closed candle. All right, just because the prices aren't decided yet. But just because I know we wicked up here to 236, and I'm hoping that we don't go below 170. I'm hoping that we don't. Y'all hear me right? I'm saying I'm hoping that we don't. So if it does, no, I wasn't the advocate for it to continue to drop. But we're holding. We haven't quite taken out the previous month's lows yet. It's getting close, and it's real weak. Like I posted on After Hours, I said one more red day, and shit ain't looking good. Stuff will not be looking good. So we want to see prices hold right now above 195. We want to see prices hold above 195. I'm going to change this to white just because we want to separate that from the quarterly stuff. But we want to see prices hold above here. The weekly's been red over red. Now the good thing is we've been seeing too many consecutive red days. It's been slowing down, but this is a bit excessive, and we should be approaching at least a green week, even if it's not much. We should be getting close to one. So, just looking at the chart from a weekly standpoint, 4, 2, 4, 1, 1, 3, 3, 3, 2, 2, 2. So, like I said, average. Let's do 3 red weeks, 2.5 red weeks. But this is a bit excessive, 4 in a row, with one more day until Thursday and Friday. So like 2 more days before this week's over with. We'll be going on another red candle. So it's a bit excessive. If you want to look at it and roll the dice, we could be having a green week next week, even though it's a short week. We have continuously been taking out previous week's lows. This one was, let's see, open, spike up, and drop back down. That's weird. And then this one just made like 50% and it sold off from there. So we'll just have to see how the price action plays around 197, 195, and 190. So just drawing all of it out from bigger time frame, you see we ended up building kind of a support ranges easily. The daily, keep in mind, 195 is when we break the month's lows. That's when we say, all right, the shit finna drop lower. So very, very important these next 2 days that we don't crap the bed on NVIDIA. You want to see if this is 197.58 to 195 holds up, and then we could have us a nice little green week next week. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. We can see at least probably, here. See a recovery up to there, 211. So NVIDIA's tricky. It's a roll of the dice, but we do got a little structure. Like I said, the previous chop zone was between, let's do 195 and 171. We've seen a few dips, but they always get bought up. And then finally we broke out. We created some support up here. made some highs, and now we're coming back in to retest this support here. All right, so Nvidia, what I think, I would stay away from it just because it's just it hasn't been the market's mover this year. You know, it's been kind of slow. So, um, IBM. I was finna go on, but let's look at IBM. Oof. All right, so IBM was pretty hot, right? It was moving pretty good. I was hoping wasn't nobody gonna get in when it FOMO. We was retesting just right off top. I'm looking at it. Big support zone up here, but it has to climb and then hold above the 291 level. So as of right now, what do we need to look for with IBM? Let's clear it. All right, so we've already broken highs and lows on previous candlestick. So that's just a big chop on both ends. It's just been pretty much sideways. If you got in at the bottom, then you made some money. If you got in at the top, then you're trying to figure out when you're gonna get some of that bread back. Yeah. So we'll just break this down from the monthly. All right. Um, let's go ahead and mark out the highs, the lows, and let's do the opening price. So this kind of gives us an idea of the structure that we're gonna be looking at. You know, why the market does whatever it's gonna do. We have broken weekly lows, and we continue to sell off. How does this go back to here? So bulls are still in control. They just trying to find a better area to get in and load for long term. Yeah. So as long as it doesn't give up all of these gains back, you know, at the end of the quarter, what this is 241. So as long as it doesn't give all those gains back up on IBM, this might be a solid play to go into the remainder of the year. Very small support, but we're just gonna have to see how it plays out. Um, 2 1 1 1 1 2. So not too bad. We can expect a month or two to cool off, possibly consolidate. You see how many monthly candles that we can see that pretty much closes flat or damn near close to it. It doesn't really just have an exciting chart. It has a slow trickle to an uptrend, and then it has these few months to where it just kind of absolutely rips the faces off of bears. But as of right now, we're cooling down. Um, it's still trying to find a bottom simply because the current price and the wick is so close together. So I wouldn't look for anything just to the upside as of right now. We don't have any green candles to really go off of because it's making it lowest lows. So you just want to watch to see if it come down to 242. It could use this little structured area right here for a setup. See how it performs around 259, 260 in this zone right here, and see if that holds up. But yeah, for the most part, we might just see some sideways movement. It's broken 52-week highs. Look like, yeah, we broke 52-week highs in this candle right here. So it's just loading up so it can go back and start retesting these zones again. All right. Anybody else need any tickers they won't look at? I want to get this. I want to get in Palantir at a very decent level, and below 100 might be my thing. All right, so I'm liking Palantir. It's going on 3 consecutive quarters of just bearish price action, and I want to see it go even higher than what it is. We're getting ready to close in a bearish 6 month candle, so that means it's gonna give us time to actually start seeing money move into it. Okay, so right now it's still discovering lows. We broken previous 6 month lows below 130, so that's why we're seeing some money actually move from out of it and see it try to attempt to find the bottom with everything that we got going on in this market. So we're going on another bearish quarter. And the only reason why I'm saying I like Palantir is because it just hasn't been rewarded with the rest of the market just yet. So I'm looking for some stuff that's undervalued, I should say, versus seeing the stocks that ran 400, $300, $200, so far this year. All right, J Loco, appreciate you for tapping in, my boy. We'll catch you in the morning. You have a good night. But yo, Palantir, like I said, we broken previous month's lows. So now prices are trying to discover. We've had a pretty long chop right here between 128 and 157. So at some point prices have to exhaust, and they're gonna eventually find some new prices to discover. So as of right now, I just want to see how this actually goes. Like I said, this is kind of a floor right here at 128. If we break lower, as far as an investment goes, I think Palantir would be decent. Um, just to see another run whenever either it gets stuck back into one of the top holdings of like tech or something, or it just does what Palantir normally does. But I think this would be a decent time to build like some leaps on it. If we seen prices push as high as 207 and we're getting this almost $100 cheaper, 208, then I think this would be something that'd be leap worthy in the market, because you're not looking at something like AMD that's at 400 or Amazon that's at 238, Microsoft for 400. This would be something that's a bit more, a little less pricier, but has a lot of possibilities as far as the volatility goes. It looks like all the earnings come out green. So any type of catalyst, we know can move these with the government contracts and stuff like that. So this is not on my just day-to-day watch list, but as far as actually looking at, leaps or putting some money somewhere that could be decent long term, I think Palantir will be one of them. Yeah, so um, it could go down to 118. That's a big gray area transitional zone right here between 118 and 111. And if we drop down, like I said, seeing this under $100 gets me excited. I remember when this little shit was trading over here, and every time you tried to short it, it didn't go down and it kept moving up. So investors are just trying to get in at some decent levels. Will it go this low? I don't know, unless it probably does a split or something. I don't know, but um, I think that eventually it's gonna get bought back up pretty hefty, and it'll be a steal to see this under $100. So watch Palantir long term. You'll probably see me calling it out, doing some leaps. If we continue to drop going into July, and $100 just sound too good. Under $100 just sound way too freaking good. So, but I think I'm gonna wrap it up here. Um, I just wanted to hop on and pretty much just run it with you guys for a little bit. I know the market's kind of crazy and all, and shit just been just dumping. But for the most part, like I said, until we actually break the lows and look at ES still recovering from the time we started an hour ago to now, it's trying to move its way up back into its transitional zone. Trying to recover, is retesting this little area right here. So this where support was. Now we're retesting and seeing if it's gonna be a resistance and we're gonna roll back over, or if it's gonna build back above here and try to retest these highs. So like I said, the market wants to continue to be bullish until we take out those previous months highs. You can't really switch the buys just yet, just because from a psychological standpoint, it's conditioning everybody to be bears, to keep playing puts, playing puts, playing puts. I'll play puts when everything lines up to play puts. I just don't want to follow the intraday momentum and call out something and it just completely goes the other way. So, but I hope everybody's doing pretty decent in the market. I hope everybody's surviving. When we can call this shit out and push and make some decent gains, we're gonna find them. But for the most part, like I said, we just gonna navigate this thing. We're gonna see how it's gonna play out and which way will have our best interest long term. So y'all have a good night. I'm glad everybody came to chop it up with your boy for a little bit. And two turtles. I think you just got up in here, huh?